Hi Mrs. Linder, this is my video about the essay I wrote on torture. In my essay, I looked into how the practice of torture is widely misused around the world and how it is inaccurate in obtaining information from potential suspects. And also another thing that I ended up finding was how governments misuse torture in order to gain a political edge over their people in order to support them, even though they may be corrupt, which I will explain a little more later. But that was what I wrote my paper on. My first goal under identifying a good research question was to go behind the obvious, pass the so what test, and focus on the potential impacts of the research being used. And coming into this research project, I had already figured out that I wanted to use torture as my issue, but that's all I knew. I didn't know what specific question I was looking into or what the sides were on the issue and what the potential impacts of the research would be. So in order to start, I did some light background information, such as using like Wikipedia and finding out about torture and what's actually going on in the world. And I found that generally people find that torture is either a positive thing to use or a negative thing to use. Positive in that it could be potentially life-saving. For instance, like it could stop a terrorist plot from occurring and things like that, like it could save lives. And or the negatives of torture, which is, to begin with, torturing a person, a live human being, also torturing innocent victims who didn't actually or aren't actually part of something sinister such as a terrorist plot. And then I also found that there were governments using torture in order to gain a political advantage, such as Syria using torture over their people to force them to support their cause, which is a corrupt thing in the world. So through this research, I was able to find a research question of basically, is torture an accepted practice and a good thing for the world today? And I decided that no, it is not, because the negatives outweigh the positives in this case, of which I have mentioned. So in the end, through using some background research coming in before I do any heavy research, I thought it was definitely helpful, and it was able to help me narrow down my research question and help me decide what perspective I was going to use for my paper as well. So then, for the second goal of my paper, under advanced search techniques, I chose to use a wide variety of databases and videos. And for this goal, coming in, I knew about databases. I had used a little bit of JSTOR in the past, and very vaguely I remember using MEL back in like middle school, but I was only briefly introduced to it, and I didn't really know much about the concept or how to use it to my advantage. Excuse me, sorry about that. But going back to the databases, through this research project and hearing what Mrs. Loaves had to say and what different databases were available to me, I was able to use mostly global issues and contexts, which I really liked, but also I found a few points of information from MEL databases such as Gale Virtual Reference and Michigan E-Library. Global Issues and Context was very helpful because it showed a lot of information pertaining to my perspective on the issue of torture around the world in different regions of the world. which is really beneficial to my paper. The MEL databases, Gale Virtual Reference, and Michigan E-Library, they had good information as far as overall information, but they weren't specifically tailored to what I needed for my paper, so I ended up not using any of that information in my paper, but it was beneficial to read because I gained more insight into my topic. So even though I didn't end up using it in my paper, I did learn more about my issue and was able to write a better paper because of it. As far as videos are concerned, I was not able to find any videos because I know you said in class not to use YouTube or Google. So most of the websites that I went to, actually all the websites and all the databases, never included any videos. So I was not able to use videos. But in the end, through using a variety of databases, I was able to strengthen my paper because I had many different articles of many different examples, and I felt that it really helped my paper, and I feel like my experience with databases will come in handy in the future because I know in college there will be more research papers. I have no doubt in my mind that there will be more research papers in college, so I definitely think that using databases and understanding how to use databases will help me in the future. My third and final goal of this research unit was to develop an in-depth thesis presenting a unique perspective on the issue while making sure it is well developed and sharply focused. Coming into this unit, a thesis to me was basically you present your position and then you give 3 reasons why you chose that position on the issue, of course. This was all in one sentence. I know that's very basic, and I knew that there was more to it, but I didn't know what more to add to it. Through the unit, I learned to use sentence starters, such as, well, at first it might seem ... and then a closer look reveals, along with by using ... and then to end it off with as a result ... And through using this, I was able to talk about how, while at first it might seem torture is an accepted, potentially life-saving tactic, a closer look reveals that it is widely misused and unacceptable. And then I was able to talk about how using torturous techniques to gain information, a confession, or political support, individuals or groups of people are forced into saying things that they don't believe or confessing to something they did not do, which is what I was trying to prove specifically. Before this unit, I probably would have said something a lot more general that wasn't very narrowed down, but through using the sentence starters, I was able to really narrow it down and portray what exactly I was trying to say. And then to end it off, I said, as a result, people lie about their actions in order to escape the pain, which is what is happening and what needs to be stopped. I feel that I've learned a lot about developing thesi, I'm not quite sure which word to use there, but I feel that I've learned a lot. The sentence starters really helped, and through using the sentence starters, I was able to maintain a sharply focused thesis that was narrowed down and not general, and I think it worked very well. So, in conclusion, I think I've learned a lot from this research unit about many different things, anywhere from developing a good, clear research question, to using databases and which databases to use and how to tell which information is important to what you're trying to say, and along with making a good multi-sentence, in-depth thesis. All of these tools that I've learned I think will come in handy down the road, especially in college, and that is the main reason why I think that this project was very helpful and very beneficial to me right now and to my future.